Welcome back to the Inner Altar. I am just so grateful for all of you that have been listening and following along these last 6 weeks. It really, it really does mean a lot to me. So wherever you are listening from today, maybe you're driving to work, folding laundry, you're on a walk, you're just laying in bed listening to this. Thank you for just choosing to spend a little part of your life with me. So, today's episode is one that is pretty important to me because I just don't think we talk about this enough, or maybe we do, but we talk about it in all the wrong ways. When someone says the word numbing, our minds immediately go to alcohol, drugs, addiction, right? But I don't actually think alcohol is our biggest addiction anymore. I think our biggest addiction is distraction. I think it's simulation. I think escaping has become so fucking normal that we don't even recognize we are doing it anymore. Now, listen, before I go any further, I want to make something very clear. This episode is not about any type of judgment, none of that. I'm not sitting here saying I have life figured out because I absolutely have not life figured out. I'm recording this as someone who has spent years trying to outrun herself. Sometimes I'm still trying to outrun myself too. I'm really not going to lie to you. And sometimes it is with alcohol. Most of the time it's with staying busy. And yeah, sometimes it is social media and scrolling. But at the same time, I'm just trying to become a better version of myself. Because even if self-improvement can become another way to avoid simply being, it may be. Because listen, even self-improvement can become another way to simply avoid being. And maybe you'll hear pieces of yourself in this episode because I truly believe every single human being has something they reach for when reality becomes too fucking loud. Some people drink, some people smoke, some people eat, some people stop eating. Okay. Some people work 16-hour days and some people just can't sit fucking still. And some people constantly need noise. Some people jump from relationship to relationship. And some people binge Netflix until 2 in the morning. Okay. There's so many things that we do. We obsess over the gym. We obsess over making money. We obsess over healing. Okay. But some people obsess over becoming the best versions of themselves. And not because growth is bad. It's not. But because we're chasing a future version of ourselves so we never have to meet the person we are today. And I know that one might sting a little because it stung me too. And I started asking myself this question recently. When is the last time that I just existed? That I wasn't producing, I wasn't accomplishing something, I wasn't consuming, learning, fixing, scrolling, cooking, escaping, massaging. I was just existing. And honestly, can't remember. Think about your day, okay? The alarm goes off, and before you even touch the floor, you're grabbing your phone. Notifications, emails, texts, Instagram, TikTok, weather, calendar, news, okay? All of it. Your brain hasn't even fully woken up yet, and it's already being flooded. Then it's coffee. Get the kids up, okay? Breakfast. There's podcast. Then you turn on the podcast, you turn on the music, there's traffic, work, conversations, more notifications, lunch while watching something, driving while listening to something, cleaning while thinking about tomorrow, cooking while answering texts, watching TV while scrolling your fucking phone. And then finally, you go to bed. Except not really, because before sleep, we scroll one more time and one more time and one more time. We say we're exhausted, but are we actually tired? Or have we just never stopped consuming? Because somewhere along the way, the silence has become very uncomfortable. And I don't think that that was an accident, because silence has a funny way of introducing you to yourself. And maybe that's exactly what we have been trying to avoid. I remember a time when I couldn't understand why I constantly needed something in the background. I always have to have music on. Always. It's hard for me to just be in silence. And if it's not music, it's a podcast, okay? But it's something. Even if I wasn't paying attention, I can't deal with the quiet. And but I, but looking back at it all, I don't think that is exactly true. I think I was afraid of what would happen if everything got quiet enough for me to actually hear myself think. Because when everything gets quiet, that's when the grief gets louder. The anxiety you've been outrunning, that's when it starts tapping you on your shoulder. And all that loneliness you've buried begins asking to be felt. The childhood wounds you thought you had outgrown quietly step back into the room. And that's fucking terrifying. So instead, we reach for something, anything, not because we're weak, but just because we are human. Our brains are wired to seek relief. Okay. So whenever we experience emotional discomfort, our nervous system wants safety. It wants certainty. It wants something familiar. And unfortunately, relief is often easier to find than healing, because healing, it asks us to sit. Relief asks us to scroll. Healing asks us to cry. Relief asks us to pour another drink. Okay? Healing asks us to have the hard conversation, and relief tells us to avoid it. Do you get where I'm going here? Because I could keep going. Relief feels good, okay? And healing is fucking uncomfortable. But usually, the instant relief is usually what costs us later. And that's where I think so many of us get stuck. We're not addicted to work or shopping or social media. We're addicted to relief, to that tiny moment where we don't have to feel what we're actually feeling. But really, who could blame us? Life is heavy, okay? People lose parents, people lose siblings, children get sick, relationships fall apart, all right? Dreams don't always work out, all right? We lose people we love. We carry the heartbreak, we carry the disappointment, we carry the grief, okay? And all we want is relief. Of course we do. But the problem isn't wanting relief. The problem is when relief becomes the only language we know. Because eventually you stop living your life and you start managing your discomfort. There's a quote that I heard, and it has stuck with me. Wherever you go, there you are. So no matter what you do, you can move, you could change jobs, you could start relationships, you could lose the weight, you can quit drinking, delete the fucking social media, you could start over, okay? But if you've never actually sat with yourself, you'll carry yourself into every new chapter. Because Healing isn't geographical, it's fucking internal, okay? And that realization changed me because I realized I wasn't trying to escape my circumstances. I was trying to escape myself. And maybe that's what so many of us are actually doing, not because we hate ourselves, but because we've forgotten how to simply be with ourselves. So I don't want you to think about the obvious ways you numb. I want you to ask yourself a different question. What do I do? What do I reach for the moment I become uncomfortable? Because that is where the honesty starts. And I promise you, that's where the healing begins too. When was the last time you sat alone with yourself? Not alone while scrolling. Okay. No, not alone while this podcast is playing. No, not alone while answering emails. No, 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 no. Okay. I mean, just you and your thoughts. When was the last time? Because for a lot of people, that question feels almost impossible to answer, I'm sure. And if you can answer that, please put it in the comments because that is a golden little nugget that most of us might need to hear also. We have mistaken being constantly stimulated for being alive. Okay? Because being stimulated means something is always happening to you. Being alive means you're actually present for it. I want you to imagine something with me. Okay? So picture your mind, it's like a snow globe. All right? Pretty little snow globe, could have anything in it, but it's a snow globe. Every notification, shake. Every argument, shake. Every drink, shake. Every 20 minutes spent scrolling, shake. Okay. Every comparison on social media, shake it. Every time you avoid a conversation, shake it. Then we wonder, why can't I hear my intuition anymore? Why am I so disconnected from God? Why am I so fucking anxious all the time? Because the snow never settles when it's continuously being shaken. So if you stop shaking yourself a little bit, you'll be able to settle and become more in tune with yourself. Because clarity, it doesn't arrive in chaos. It arrives after the dust settles. And I think we have become addicted to shaking our own globes. I think one of the greatest losses of our generation is boredom. And I know that sounds strange, like, okay, who wants to be bored? But think back to being a kid. Remember long summer afternoons and you just like kind of stare out the window and you lay in the grass and you ride your bike, you build your forts, and you spend hours doing absolutely nothing productive. And somehow that was just enough. Because now, the second we stand in line at the grocery store, we're waiting at a stoplight, hell, even using the fucking bathroom, okay? A commercial break. Phone, 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 phone. We have eliminated every tiny pocket of stillness from our lives. And that's really fucking sad. We've unintentionally eliminated space where creativity, healing, prayer, reflection, all of it, intuition, it arrives. Some of my biggest realizations, they didn't happen while I was busy. Not while I was driving, listening to music, or no. I was walking alone. I was watching the wind move through the trees, and in those moments, that's when I could hear the whispers from God. And my intuition coming back. Those are the moments where something deeper would whisper, and it wouldn't yell, it would whisper. And I wonder, like, how many whispers have we been missing because our lives are just simply too loud? We have to do those uncomfortable things. And even if sitting with ourselves without numbing is uncomfortable, there will be growth and clarity at the end of it. For so many years, I really thought like healing meant becoming someone who never struggled, someone who had it all figured out, someone who wasn't anxious or always cool, calm, and collected, that never wanted to escape. But now I think healing is something completely different. I also want to say something that I think is incredibly important. Rest and numbing are not the same thing. Sometimes we genuinely need rest. And sometimes watching a movie with your family is beautiful. Sometimes laughing with friends stoned is medicine. Okay, sometimes reading a novel does feed your soul, and consuming yourself with content that is enlightening and uplifting is good for you. Sometimes taking a nap is exactly what your nervous system needs. This isn't about removing joy from your life. It's really about asking yourself one simple question. Am I moving toward myself or away from myself? Because those are two completely different things. A bath can be presence or it could be escape. Exercise, it can be healing or it can be punishment. And work, it could definitely have a purpose or it can most definitely be avoidance. And sometimes you don't always need more information. Sometimes we just need more honesty, less consuming, more becoming, less searching, less running, just more arriving. And maybe that's the invitation today, to just not throw your phone away, not to swear off social media forever, not to have another drink. That's not the point. The invitation is just simply this: before you reach for something outside of yourself, I want you to pause and take one breath and ask yourself, what am I actually feeling right now? Because you might be surprised by the answer, and even more surprised by what happens when you stop trying to outrun it. And there's another quote that I have heard before. It says, wherever you are, be there completely. It's simple, but unbelievably difficult because our minds are almost never here. They're replaying yesterday, they're rehearsing tomorrow. Very, very rarely are we living today. So I want to ask you something. What if your life doesn't actually need more? What if it just needs more of you, more of your attention, your presence and honesty, and your softness and your laughter, and even your tears, your humanity? Not the filtered version, not the productive version, of just you, exactly as you are. Because I think we've forgotten something really incredibly important here. Your presence is more valuable than your performance. So here's what I'd love for you to do after this episode. Not tomorrow, not next Monday, today. When this episode ends, don't press play on another one. Don't open Instagram. Don't check your email. Don't immediately call someone. Don't fill the silence. Just sit. Maybe it's in your car. Maybe it's outside, on your couch, in the laundry room. Just 5 minutes. No music, no phone. Just breathe. Notice the sounds around you and your heartbeat. And notice your thoughts without trying to change them. Just let them come through. Notice what your body has been trying to tell you. You might feel restless, and this really might be uncomfortable for you. It could get a little emotional, and if that happens, just don't mistake it for anything. It's a feeling, it's not failure. And honestly, it's your nervous system finally realizing that it's safe enough now. It's your heart saying, thank you for finally coming back. And if no one has told you this lately, you don't have to earn rest and you don't have to earn love. Thank you for spending this time with me today. This episode found you exactly when you needed it. I hope you'll share it with someone you love too, because chances are someone in your life is and most definitely carry more than you know. And maybe this conversation can remind them that they don't have to carry it alone. So until next time, welcome home and welcome to your inner altar. I'll see you in the next episode.